So I get the question a lot, actually. Mr. Decker, why do we have an electoral college? Well, I'd like to take some time and explain why.
So first things first, the Electoral College was established under Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution. Basically, every state is allocated a number of votes equal to the number of senators and representatives in the U.S. congressional delegation.
Now, the rules for the Electoral College are actually laid out a little bit more extensively in the 12th Amendment to the Constitution. Because democracy was a new idea, or a representative democracy, that is, well, at the time, the nation's founders thought it might be best to have the states elect the president rather than voters directly.
So very basically, the Electoral College gives each state a random number, and that random number equals to the number of senators and representatives it sends to D.C. So, for example, each state gets 2 U.S. senators that goes to Washington, D.C. Let's go to the state of Indiana. Since we send 2 senators and 9 representatives, that equals 11. Since the magic number is 270, the race is basically win the majority of the states getting to the number 270 first. I'll break that down in a minute. Now, in Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution, each state, which includes the District of Columbia for the Electoral College, decides how to appoint its electors. However, they must do so according to the law enacted before Election Day. Currently, all states use the popular vote results from the November general election, that's the primaries, and the political party chooses the individuals who are appointed.
When the Electoral College was outlined in Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution, it's also important to remember that political parties weren't a thing yet, and it was expected that more than 2 people would run for president, therefore making the Electoral College a little bit more workable. It's a lot different than our 2-candidate system that works today, and I think a major argument against the Electoral College is that sometimes the candidate who wins the majority of the votes, or otherwise known as the popular vote, sometimes does not win the election. That's happened about 4 times. I think currently the 2-party system contributes to this notion greatly. Now, I also know that the Electoral College is a check not only to protect the values of minority states or districts, but it's also an attempt to protect the presidential election. Uninformed, uneducated voters that sometimes vote on name recognition only, one could argue, sometimes hurt the election results. Straight party voting also contributes to this. So there's a lot of factors to consider when thinking about if the Electoral College is a good idea or a bad idea. Listen, there's a lot of thoughts on the Electoral College, and there's pros and cons, and I want you to think about those. But while you're thinking of that, think of it this way. Here's my argument. The United States of America is closer to a republic than it is a democracy. We're a nation protected under the rule of law, the Constitution being the supreme law of the land. So think of the presidential election less as a national direct democracy, but more so as 50 separate states holding 50 separate elections for president.
Speaking of the race to 270, according to Real Clear Politics, here is how the current Electoral College breaks down. Now, this is all off polling. I don't think early voting results have been factored in, but currently Trump-Vance are at 219, Harris-Walz are at 211. Remember, the magic number is 270. As you can see here, red states equal states that Republicans, or in this case Trump-Vance, are likely to carry and win. Blue states are states that Harris-Walz are likely to carry or win. Gray states are those undecided swing states that are too close to call currently. But that's no fun. Let's make some predictions, shall we? Now, if we were to go to create your own map and just click on no toss-ups, meaning even if it's a 0.01% lead for a candidate, they will go ahead and give that state to the leader. Currently, we sit at 287 to 251. Today's projection would mean Trump possibly wins the election. Now again, this is not official. So let's talk paths to victory. First, we'll focus on the Harris-Walz campaign. Ladies first. Now there are multiple swing states still in play here, but we're going to go with our traditional wall states. We have Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. I've gone ahead and filled in 2 states. Minnesota is likely to go blue. North Carolina is likely to go red. Here is how the Harris-Walz campaign can win the election. By simply flipping Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania blue, Harris-Walz secure 270 without even winning Georgia. Slightly modifying the map and only changing 2 states, if Donald Trump carries Pennsylvania and Georgia, that will get the Trump-Vance campaign to 287 and win the election. Now, it is factoring to be a close election here, but let's just say, factoring in landslide, just how close a close election can become a landslide victory for one candidate or the other. For example, if the Harris-Walz campaign wins Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, they would win 302 to 236. That's pretty close to a landslide. However, if you change those same states to red, the Trump-Vance campaign wins 312 to 226, a convincing victory. No matter the case, we're not looking at a 1984 recreation, though. This, my friends, was a landslide. Reagan beat Mondale 525 to 13. Mondale doesn't want to talk about it too much. That wasn't a political statement, just an example of what a true landslide really looks like. Well, friends, I tried to keep it concise, but regardless of the outcome, I hope that we can all be civil. I hope you enjoyed this Electoral College breakdown. The Electoral College is very confusing to a lot of people. Hopefully I shed some light on that and didn't make it even more confusing. I do have a few questions I'd like you to take a look at. Those are going to be posted on Canvas, and I've also forwarded them along to your teachers if they so choose to show this. Thank you for everyone that helped me with this. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Happy Election Day. Good luck. May the force be with you, always.